Welcome to Tech Brothers with Ahmed. Today we are going to learn how to use insert query with parameters in Execute SQL Task. Scenario will be log file names with record count. So let me tell you more about the scenario. In real-time demo, we will be doing something like this. How to load file names and record count after loading each file to SQL Server Table. To tell you more about this scenario, you can think of getting multiple files during the day and you want to create an SSIS package to load those files and then log the file name and record count that the file has and you have loaded to SQL Server Table and time to the log to the dbo.FileLoadInformation table. So this is something we want to create for our audit process. We want to know, like, okay, how many files we loaded on this day and how many records came in each of the file. So on the solution side, in this video we will be learning how to use insert query with parameter in Execute SQL Task. Also we will learn following items. We will learn how to create a SSIS package from scratch. We will learn how to load data from flat file to SQL Server Table, and we will learn how to use for each loop container to loop through set of files. When we are getting more than one file, how we will use for each loop in those scenarios. Also we will be learning how to use row count transformation in SSIS to save the record count, and then finally use that variable that we have used in the row count transformation into the Execute SQL Task for our insert query that we are using to put the data into the file load information table. We will also learn how to use insert query in Execute SQL Task and how to map the variables to them. So let's go to the demo and perform that right now. So what I have here, I have multiple things. First of all, we need the files. So I have created two files. So you see that this is file with the date time. So we have 17 and 18 on 2 days the files. Open them. So we see the records. They have 3 records each. And then open the other one. So it has 3 records. But the names are different. IDs are the same. Maybe we can also change the IDs. So we'll okay, so I changed the IDs. So 3 records in each of the file. Next part, we need to create the table for this file. So as we need to load the file, we can create the table on the fly. Let me show you how to do that. So we have customer ID and customer name, and we will create the table while we will develop our SSIS package. Now the next part, I need a table for the log information. So I created a table called dbo.FileLoadInformation, and I have ID, that is integer identity, so it will be automatically populated on each of the insert. I have a file name column, that's varchar100, and I have record count, that's the integer, and then I have created on, that's the column that will tell us what time we put this record in. So it is date time, and I put a default constraint on that one, and I said get date. So I'm not gonna put the value for this one. It will be automatically populated as we are putting get date default constraint. So I didn't create this table. Let's create this table in the test database. Now the table is created. Next part, go to the SSDT or bids and create a new SSIS package. So once you are in the solution, you right click on SSIS packages, create new SSIS package, and here is our new SSIS package. Rename this one to good name. So I will say file load information package, or just we don't have to say package. And here we know that we are reading the data for multiple files. So the very first thing what we need a for each loop container, as we can or will have multiple files. If we will have one file only coming from the folder, we will not use a for each loop. We will use a data flow task only, and that will take care of it. Now we have the for each loop. One thing I would like to do, I would like to create a variable. So save the path a folder in the variable. So I'm going to use a folder path variable. Why I do that? So I can change the value of this variable by using configuration. So I can use a parameter or I can use a variable here. So I'm going to use the variable. Some people are still using in 2008 and 2005. So I'm going to use the variable so they can use in the configuration. So paste it here, and then I'm going to put, let's leave this one as it is. Now we have a folder path variable that we will be using here in the for each loop, and we will be getting only the files which are required. So let me go here. You go to the expressions here. First of all, we will select for each file enumerator. So we selected that, and we can provide the folder here as we are using the variable. So we will be going to expressions, and in the expressions we go to property and go to directory, and then hit expressions, and here we will be using folder path variable value. So that's what we will use. And now it will not be reading from C drive, it will be getting the value from this variable. So folder path variable, whatever the path you have saved in that variable, that's what the for each will use. Next part, let's go to the files, and it will tell you which type of files you want to read. In our case, right now it is saying asterisk dot asterisk means any name. The very first asterisk tells us any name can be read. The last asterisk tells us any extension can be read. So after this dot, there is on the right side that tells us extension. So when we put asterisk, it means it will be reading any file with any extension. So but we are interested only reading in .txt files. So let me go back here, and I'm going to change this one to .txt. If you have CSV file or txt, you can leave this one as it is, so you will read every file. So but I'm using only to read the txt file. And now I'm interested to get the file name and extension only. So I can get fully qualified path. That's going to give me folder path and the file name and the extension. I can use that one as well. So let's say if we are interested to put the fully qualified path in the log table, so we can use that. So let's get the fully qualified path, and or otherwise you can want to go get the file name and extension, you can get it. We have the file folder path already, so we can use that one, and in expressions, and we can concatenate and put into the table. But if we are interested to get fully qualified path, we can get from here. So we got that. Now next part is we save that into the variable. So here I'm going to save that into variable. I'm going to create a variable called file full path, and it is string type, so that's fine. Now index 0 because this is the only variable, so indexing starting with 0. If you have more variables, then you will have 1 2 3, but here you will be having only 1. Hit OK. Now we have the file name fully qualified, the folder path and file name come in file path variable. Now next part is if we go to the here, if we want to check that variables, we go to variables, and here we can see those variables. Next part is we need to load the data from that file to the SQL Server Table. So we bring the data flow task here, double click on data flow. Now we are reading the data from flat file, so we bring the flat file source, double click, create a connection, and browse to the file. So I'm going to browse to the file. So here what we have multiple files, so you can browse to any as the file structure is same, so we can browse to any. And then we provide the header, first row is a header row or not, other information such as the format, what is it is delimited. We know that there is a text qualifier if you have double quotes around your each of the values, so you can provide it here. So you can go here, but I don't have anything, I have just the comma delimited file, so it already took the values. So next part is the customer ID and customer name. So I can go to advanced, and customer ID is read as string 50. So worker 50, I am going to change it to the integer. So I'm going to change to the 4 byte sign integer. So I change that one. For the customer name, I want to change to 100, let's say, and now it is varchar. That's fine. So I hit OK. Now if you retain null values from source as null values in the data flow, so if you are having some blank values in the source and you want to read them as a null, you can hit this one. Let's hit that. So columns, and we are all good. Now the next part is, remember, we did not create the destination table first. So let's bring the OLEDB destination, and we are going to create a table from here. So connect your flat file to the OLEDB destination. Now here create a connection to the database where you want to write this information, so or wherever your table is. So I have this connection manager. You can use this one. If we want to use a new one, we can create a new one by providing the server name. We will have to provide the server name here. If you provide the server name by yourself, write it here, it will be quick, but if you will click here, it is going to take some time to resolve all those server names. Then test database, test connection looks good. Okay, so we have test connection. Now here we don't have the table where we want to load the data, so we didn't create the table, so we can go ahead and create a new. So I hit new, and this is the definition it took from our input columns and creating the table for us. So let's say we want to say we want to say customer. I have a lot of customers table already. File load information, or I will say customer underscore execute SQL. That's what I'm trying to do here. So but this is not the correct name or good name, but I have a lot of already customer tables, and that's why I just put another part of that. So we are saying customer dot underscore execute SQL. As you did not put that schema here, so it is going to create in the dbo schema. So if you want to create in a different schema, you can always provide the schema here before the table name. So we have customer ID and customer name worker. It took the definition correctly, and that's what we want to create. Okay, now it is selected automatically. We go to mapping, and here the mapping is done automatically as well. If the names on the source and destination will be different, you have to do manually. So but here in our case it is the same, so that's why it took it. Hit OK. Now we are loading. If I run this package, what is going to happen? It is going to, for each loop is going to loop through 2 files, but it will load only one file twice, because the connection manager is hard coded and it is only pointing to the one file. So what we need to do here, we go to the connection manager, and here in the connection manager we say connection string, and here we need to provide that connection string. So as we know that file full path is having the folder path plus the file name plus the extension. So this variable is our connection string for our flat file connection. So we can set to evaluate. Fine, hit OK. Now if I will go ahead and run the package, it will load the data to that table for both of the files. Let's run the package. So the both files are loaded. Let's go and take a look. As we can see that these 3 records came from the file 1, and these 3 records came from second file, and we remember that we changed IDs to 5, 6, and 7. So this is working great. Let me do one thing. We can truncate this table. I know this is taken a whole lot of time, but I want to go through each and every step and teach you how exactly we do development and learn different parts of the development in SSIS and T-SQL. So now the next part is left as this for each loop is going to loop through each file and then load by using the data flow task from the flat file to the SQL server table. Next part, what we want to do, we want to put that information. So what we want to do here, as we said that we will be doing a demo on Execute SQL Task. So I'm going to bring Execute SQL Task. So let me find out where Execute SQL Task is. So in the commons, we have Execute Package Task, Execute Process Task, and here on the favorites, I am using SSDT SQL Server Data Tools, but if you will be using bids, you will not have this favorite and common and all those different tabs. You will have tasks, and that's pretty much it. So you will be getting the Execute SQL Task here. Now you will connect that and you open it. Here we need to write that query so we can insert the file name and record count. So one thing, if you guys remember, we didn't take any record count as of now, so we have to take the record count. Let's go to the variables and here create a new variable and we will call it record count, and this is integer, that's fine. And inside the data flow task we are going to use the record count transformation to get the counter. So we will be using let me get the transformation. So here it is kind of sometime hard when you are making a video and finding transformations. Okay, so I found the record count transformation, then I'm going to connect it. Here I have to double click and it asks you to provide the variable name. If you are using bids or SSIS 2008 or 2005, this editor will be little different. So when you will click on the record counter transformation, this will have more information. You will see a lot of different inputs and outputs and a lot more information, but you will go all the way and there would be a variable mapping. So you will provide the variable, and also that will show you, if I remember correctly, it will show you all those different variables. But here see, even we have other variables such as file folder path, file full path and all that. It took only the integer one. So that's good. It is more intelligent now, and it has only one drop down, and that's great. So you can work quickly with this one. So select that one. Okay. Now we have saved the value or the record count from that flows from our source to destination in the variable. And next part is we want to log that information. So here we have a connection. So we can select the OLEDB connection. We can have multiple choices here, but I'm going to use the OLEDB connection as I want to insert the records in the test database, and I have created that connection as the OLEDB connection. So now here we have to write our SQL statement. So how we will be writing our SQL statement? So we will be saying insert into dbo.load file table, and here we will mention the columns we want to put. So we have file name, that's information I want to put. I want to put the record count. Other two columns I don't care because they will be automatically populated. So ID and create on will be automatically populated, so I don't have to put them. So here now you will place these question marks, and this will be mapped to our variables. So let's take this statement and we will put it here. The next part what we need to do, we go to the parameter mappings, and here we need to add those variables and map them. So here if you see variable name, there come in system variables and all that. Click here and select your variable. So in this case we want to put the file full path, so we will be putting folder path plus the file name and extension, and it is input, and we know that it is a varchar because So we change to the varchar here. You can write it by yourself, or find in the drop down. And now here it's in parameter name, so there is no parameter name, so we will put the index. We'll say this is the very first parameter, and leave this property as it is, so we don't really use parameter size here. And now the next we have to add is the integer value for the record count. So we have a record count variable input, and here let's see what we have. So we can go in the drop down and find different things. So if you see anything integer here, so I don't see anything called integer. Let me see. Yeah, so I don't see anything integer. So those are kind of confusing data types here. These data types you see here, they're different what you see on the when you create the variable. So we have integer 32 and all that. That would be very nice if they will keep the same thing here, but they are a little different. So long is the data type you can use for the numbers here. So that's the kind of integer, and then you provide 1 as this is the second input for our insert query. And if we go to journal, and we can see that this is the second one, question mark, is the record counter. So starting with 0 index, and we keep going with the next indexes. Hit OK. Now we are all good. So what is going to happen if I run this package now? There would be two things happen. First, the records will be inserted into the destination table for one file, then it will come here and then log that information for us. So let's go and take a look. So here what I have, this is the destination table where the record should be loaded. So we see that the 6 records are loaded from 2 files. Now here are the file information. So if we select that, we can take a look and see, okay, so these 2 files are loaded correctly, and each one loaded 3 records. Let's go back one more time and make some changes. So let's say we rename this file and we say 16. Also we will open it and remove some records. So I remove one record and also change to the 11 and 16. So now we have only 2 files, but one file we change the record count. You can leave one file as it is, so you can have more than 2 files. So if you want to make a copy of this one, let's make a copy and paste it here. So you can have as many files you want, but the structure should be the same as our SSIS package is reading the file with the same structure. So if you have multiple structures, I have a package or video, you can see how to handle those files with the names and redirect them to the different data flow tasks inside the SSIS package. So look the video in the playlist, and I will also put it in the description as well. So run the package now. Let's go back and take a look. So what we have here, all those records are inserted. We can see that. Second part, now we should have 5 records here because these 2 were already there when we ran first time, and then you can see that these are the new files and the record count coming in. So that's how you can keep track of the files loaded by your SSIS package and the count. So this is very important. Let's say you start with 1,000 records or 5,000 records, and then you are getting a lot more records, and it's good idea you get that information put somewhere, and you can write the SSRS report or maybe send the email at the end of package and tell them how many records and how many files this package loaded at the certain time. So thanks very much for watching this video, and appreciate your time. And I feel sorry, like videos are getting long, but I want to take each step and teach to the level the beginners can start, and even advanced level people can learn good stuff. Thanks.